guys, welcome back to A Page in the Chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige and today we are going through my top 10 books of the year so far. I have no idea if these will end up being in my top 10 books of the year overall. There are a couple of these that I know will be in my top 10 books overall and are in competition for my top book of the year already, just because I have read some really good books this year. But here is the top 10 so far. So I've seen a couple of people do this video and I thought, you know what, yeah, I've read some really good books this year, and I didn't really get to talk about all of them in my mid-year book freakout tag. Some of them have even come since I uploaded that video, so I figured it was time to talk them through. If you guys like the sound of this video and you want to see more of me and the books that I like to read, why not hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I upload twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here. You're going to want to stick around. Feel free to also check me out on Instagram and Twitter so you guys can see what I'm reading as I'm reading it and get more of a behind the scenes of my reading and this channel. Of course, only do so if you are interested. There's no pressure. And yeah, let's start talking about some books. So there are 10 books on this list. As I was going through my 2021 Goodreads challenge, I naturally picked out 8 that I wanted to talk about, and so then I kind of just figured, let's just add 2 more and make it 10. I have read 59 books so far this year and I am 1 book behind schedule. My target for the year was 110 books, which is 10 books more than last year. However, I was in a massive reading slump. I got about 25 books behind schedule, and just in June and July alone I have managed to bring it back up to only being 1 book behind schedule now. So I'm not even disappointed that I'm still behind schedule. That is quite a feat. So yeah, here is the best of those 59 so far. These are in absolutely no particular order other than the last 2, which are my top 2 books of the year at the moment. But other than that, I really just could not be bothered to rank them, in all honesty. I think it would be too difficult because there's too much of a mix of books here to pit them against each other. So these are just the top 10 so far in no particular order. The first book on this list is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda. This is a historical fiction about our main character, Lily, and she is kind of discovering her sexuality whilst going to this lesbian bar called the Telegraph Club in the 1950s while she is Chinese American, dealing with the Red Scare. There is all kinds of socio-political context in this book. I talked quite a bit about this book in my June wrap-up. If you guys want to hear my in-depth thoughts, you can go and check this out. But all in all, it really came down to cultural integrity for me. I felt like Malinda did an absolutely insane amount of research for this book. I loved that any Chinese dialogue was written in Mandarin and actual Chinese characters, and you had to look at the footnotes for the translations. I felt like that really represented this cross-cultural world. I thought it was really good of Malinda to do that rather than just translating everything for us. I adored it. I will be reading so much more of Malinda if all of her books are as well researched as this one. The next book is also a very recent read. This is a July pick, and that is Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. There had to be one Morgan Matson on this list. I adore Morgan Matson books. She is my favourite YA contemporary author. I love how she puts family elements into her books. I just think they're incredible, and if you like family elements in YA contemporary or in Morgan Matson's books, none will deal with it more than Second Chance Summer. This follows our main character Taylor and her family, and this family are not particularly close, but they receive some life-changing news and they decide that they're going to go back to their family lake house for this summer, which forces Taylor to deal with a load of drama that she created for herself as a child and ran away from, and now is forced to deal with it. And this book is honestly so much more about the family than the romance, which was so lovely to see in a YA contemporary romance. And I will say this book made me sob like a baby. I was actually really embarrassed to be crying about this, and then I put it on my Instagram and so many people also said that this book made them sob, and then I felt a little bit less embarrassed about crying at a YA contemporary. But it really hits hard. Taylor's character development and everything she learns is just so fantastic. This book flows beautifully. It has to be on the favourites list, it just has to be. And then these next 2 books I have talked about so so much on this channel. I really don't want to bore you with talking about them anymore, because I'm pretty sure I already did in my mid-year freakout tag and in my 21 in 21, and that is Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me and Heartstopper Volume 4. These are both YA contemporary graphic novels. I have recently discovered that I only really like contemporary graphic novels over fantasy ones, and these are just both so fun, so light-hearted. Heartstopper Volume 4 is a little bit less light-hearted than the other Heartstoppers, but still fantastic, and both of them just have beautiful graphics. If you're looking to get into graphic novels, then I highly recommend these two as the place to start. And yeah, as I said, I've spoken about them so much, I really don't want to bore you with talking about them anymore. They're stunning graphically, they're stunning in terms of how they're written, they're just stunning. And then the next book is The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. Now this is a book that I put off reading for over a year because this cover is awful and Madeline Miller just scared me away from Greek retellings, Greek myth, ancient history, whatever you want to call it, retellings. She scared me away from them because I really didn't like her writing, and I just thought I didn't like them in general. But I adored this. And this is honestly one of those books where I can't explain why I adored it. Nothing out of the ordinary really happened, nothing crazy happened, there's no huge spin on it, but I just loved it. So this is essentially a Trojan War retelling, but make it feminist. Like, it's also essentially a version of A Song of Achilles from Bryce's perspective and a woman's perspective, and how women are treated in this Greek camp. And something about that added element of it being from an unknown perspective, of it being from a feminist perspective, just made this book so much better. I can see why this won the Booker Prize. It was just so beautifully written and I learned a lot from it. So I reckon if you like The Song of Achilles, you will probably like this, although the LGBTQ plus rights are not as strong in this book as in A Song of Achilles, but it's a different perspective and it's interesting to read. And so the 8th book is another book that you have very recently seen me read. I read this for my Traveling with Books vlog. If you guys haven't checked that out, you really should, because I basically used books to travel to European cities that I was supposed to visit on my year abroad, but didn't get to. But this book is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I used this for traveling to Sicily, most notably Palermo. And this is a YA fantasy about witches and is essentially kind of like a Seven Deadly Sins retelling. So our main character's sister goes missing, and to try and get to the bottom of it, our main character summons the Prince of Wrath and is kind of bound by this summoning to the Prince of Wrath until she can get to the bottom of what happened to her sister. This book was just so interesting, so unique, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought that I would read this book for that vlog, not really think too much of it, but like it would be a YA fantasy, so it wouldn't be that bad. But I didn't think I would read the rest of the series, I didn't think I would be interested, but I really am. I'm also even more interested because this book is YA, but the next book I believe transitions to new adult, and the books are then aimed at an older audience for the next few books, and I'm so excited to see how Kerri Maniscalco handles that transition. There is some spicy tension going on between some characters in this book, and I'd be very interesting to see how that plays out in a new adult setting. So hopefully that TikTok was true and these books do become new adult, because I would love to see that. And then these next two books are the only books that are ordered. This 9th book is gonna surprise you because it is my second favourite book of the year so far. Not my first favourite book, like I've been saying since I read it in January. It has been overtaken by another book, and this book that is my second favourite book so far is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Now, it is most of my personality on BookTube that I don't like Sarah J. Maas books. I think her characters are two-dimensional and I cannot stand the way she writes love triangles. I really can't. But this book just really did something for me. I was screaming and squealing and fangirling and crying the way that I was when I was like 12 years old reading Cassandra Clare books. Like, This book really took me back to a fangirling place. Something about this book just really hit me. And so this is about our main character Bryce, and this is an urban fantasy where different supernatural beings are essentially in factions in society. Our main character Bryce is part fae, and Bryce essentially finds all of her best friends murdered, so she goes on this journey of discovery to try and get to the bottom of what the hell kind of demon is loose in the city, killing her friends, killing all these people. And it really blew me away. So many twists and turns I didn't see coming. Do have a feeling Sarah J Maas is going to turn this into a love triangle, but I will still pick up the second book. I will be very interested to see if Sarah J Maas handles this in a different way to her other books. Hopefully this book is, you know, is a little bit older, it's a little bit more mature than her previous works. Maybe she will come up with some unique twist on a love triangle and it won't be so two-dimensional and flat, and I'll actually enjoy it. I really hope so, because this is shaping up to be one of my favourite series of all time if Sarah J Maas can just keep up the momentum. And then my new favourite book of the year. I finished it this morning after reading it in only 2 sittings. I read half of it yesterday and half of it this morning. This book just absolutely blew me away, and that is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read Taylor Jenkins Reid before. I've read Evelyn Hugo, absolutely adored it, loved it. Again, I think it was one of my favourite books of last year, but this book just takes the cake. It has some crossovers with Evelyn Hugo which are so fun to read. I'm assuming it also has some mentions of Daisy Jones and the Six, but I haven't read that, so I probably didn't pick up on those. But yeah, this book just really grabbed my heart and would not let go. This is essentially about the Reaver family, and the Reaver siblings are all the children of Nick Reaver, who is one of Evelyn Hugo's husbands, and the Reaver siblings throw an annual party every single year on like the last weekend of August, and it's star-studded and massive and always gets out of control. One of those kind of parties, basically kind of Taylor Swift's 4th of July parties, but make it even crazier with even more famous people. But from the start of the book, you know that by 6 o'clock in the morning the house has gone up in flames. And then this book starts at about 7 o'clock the morning before and follows the events of the Reaver siblings and their history throughout that day before the house goes up in flames. And the mystery of it, the flashbacks of it, the fact that Taylor Jenkins Reid can make me obsessed and interested and intrigued in a 400-page book that's only about one day. This is better than Evelyn Hugo. And if you liked Evelyn Hugo, you will absolutely love this book, because it is written in much the same way. Very much got that kind of mystery threaded throughout, but it's also very much just kind of about these characters' lives, this family's life. It doesn't have a huge plot, it doesn't have a load of stuff happening. It's about this family's life, but there is a mystery involved, and Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing just keeps you going. I finished this book and I burst into tears because I'd finished it. It's not a sad book, but I just cried and cried and cried because I'd finished it and I wanted more, and it was honestly just such a good book that I feel like it deserved tears. This has to be my favourite book of the year for that kind of reaction. And so here we have it. Here are my top 10 books of the year in no particular order other than the top 2. I am having a pretty good reading year. To have a top 10 books by July is pretty impressive. I feel like last year I would not have had 10 books that I enjoyed that much and wanted to talk about this much, so it's definitely a win. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and do let me know if you've read any of these books and what you think of them. I would love to have a chat with you down in the comments about them. I'm sure some of you have read them and have thoughts or want to read them or have heard of them, or you know, something, so that could be a fun thing to do. Also, if you have also loved some of these books, or you like the kind of books that I read, or you like what you have seen so far, why not hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for more content. As I said, twice a week, Wednesday, Friday, no shortage of bookish content here. Why not subscribe? Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you're having a fantastic reading year. I hope that there are absolutely no reading slumps in your future at all. Enjoy everything that you are reading this week, and I will see you for my next video. Bye guys.